What's up, everybody? Shawn back here with another live live to roll, which I could actually let Brianna maybe introduce since it is kind of a women's hybrid
It is
show we're
your
doing here
show, Brian.
today.
Yeah.
It's
So yeah,
okay. Take it away.
we got kind of a special show for you today, a little bit of a hybrid show. We just wanted to get Jesi on the show, talk to her about her life and what she's doing and all the cool stuff going on. So yeah, we got a fun show for you guys today. We'll do a little some quick intros, and then we can get into some fun topics. So I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident 19 years ago. And then I don't know, Brianna, you want to go then, or do you want?
I'll go.
Sure.
You
My
know what?
name is.
I'll go.
And then you
I'll
can.
go.
Just gonna jack my
It's
spot
like,
like that. Did you see
it's like it's
that?
your
No,
show.
damn.
It's your show. Let me get in here. Let the guys do their
Go, go.
thing. I'm Bobby Rohan, C56 quad, 34 years living here in Southern California. And let's move it over to really Brianna's show, who should have opened it up.
And then you can
She's
introduce
she's
Jesi.
the host with the most.
Now that we've
Brianna.
gotten that out of the way, just
Yeah, no kidding.
my name
Finally.
is Brianna. I was injured 8 years ago. I was wrongfully shot, and I am a T12 paraplegic out of Los Angeles, California. And let's go to our special guest today,
Woo!
Jesi.
I'm Jesi. I am a T4 paraplegic from a motorcycle accident, and I have been paralyzed for, 8 years now, too. Yeah, dang. It flies by, huh?
It does fly by. When I say it, I'm like, dang. But then it sounds like a big number. But then, like, I get around Bobby and he's like, you're a baby. Calm down.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, oh, man, I thought I was a grown up, Mom. I'm so baby.
No, exactly. We talked about it on the show the other day when I was first heard, and somebody said 5 years, and I went, "What? No way, 5 years." And they're like, "Don't worry, there'll be a cure by then." And 30, it's almost on 35 years, so it's like, oh yeah, okay, cure my smear.
So funny.
But yeah, no, that's it. I feel like at like 5 years is kind of where you start to really figure like things out. You're like, okay, I got this at this point. Like you kind of like get it down.
Mhm.
You get it.
Mhm.
The 5-year mark is like a big milestone where it's like, oh, okay, I'm okay. Life is okay. I can handle this.
Yeah, you finally figured out most things, and then you take off from there. You kind of start figuring out if you're going to school, work, basing, your surroundings, and you feel more comfortable out in the community with, the area you're in and the people you meet, and you start meeting, some more SCI if that's, if you have those around you, and then all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier. And then by year 10, it's like, you stop even thinking about it. And next thing you know, I get a call in the morning. My mom's like, "Do you know what day it is?" I'm like, "No." And, "Oh, it's your, oh yeah, that's right. Okay."
That's so funny. How was it for you, Jesi, getting into the community? Did it take you a while? Did you have like a hard start?
I was a week in ICU with the bronch tube down my throat. And I was like, I'm going to join spinal cord injury support groups. And I made a post. I'm like, I'm a T4 paraplegic. What's my life going to look like? What can I do? What is out there for me? And I will never forget, there was probably 200 people that just shared photos of them doing adaptive sports, having a family, working. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Damn, instantly? It was instantly in the hospital that you felt that way?
Yeah, because I was so hopeless. Like, all I could focus on was what I lost, right? Like, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I woke up and a nurse was between my legs cathing me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And she's like,
Mhm.
oh, spinal cord injury. And I was like, yeah, but I could go to the toilet, right? Like, why are you doing this to me right now? And I didn't really understand the gravity of it. And when she said spinal cord injury, I was like, there's got to be a support group. I know I'm not the only one.
Mhm.
Wow.
Wow.
Really cool that you did that.
Yeah, a lot of folks are like, "No, I don't want to get a part of that. I don't want to be around that because that's not going to be me." And luckily you're with the era, so us old timer over here, I didn't have social media, and I didn't have people come into and I think that's why I'm still old school. Instead of putting it out on my social media, I still go to the hospitals. I still make the phone calls, and I still want to run into them. Yeah, great. Now that I kind of do Instagram here and there, and getting a little better at it, but yeah.
You
So
have been getting a little better at it. I'm like,
have been
damn, Bobby's
posting
getting
more.
better at posting. More
Well,
posting than I post.
I don't know, and I only do it for records. I think because when I went back, I started noticing like, Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I started doing it a little more.
No, I love them. I think that's great that you've been tracking like how many miles have you been doing? You've been doing a lot of miles.
Yeah, I did 75 last weekend.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's
Yeah.
using power assist. He has an e-bike, so
Yeah,
don't
I
let
have
him
an
think
e-bike. It's
he's
not
not doing
all.
it all on his own. He's doing
Yeah,
some pedaling, not all of it.
yeah.
Imagine.
A lot.
But no,
But
that's a
for two
lot.
days,
Yeah, that is
for
still a
2 days,
lot.
I
Oh
did
my.
7 miles, or yeah, 7 miles in pushing. So
Miss
because
me
I,
with
yeah, my tires are getting worn out, and if I go for another bike ride, I know my wheels are gonna blow. So,
Yeah,
so
I need new tires
Jesse,
too.
how old were you when you got hurt?
22 years old.
22.
Okay.
Me
So
too.
yeah, so you're already into the social media. So if we go to your Instagram, are you one of those? I have a friend that I was looking at a while ago, and it was like I scrolled down, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I see able body Ryan now. Whoa, that is weird. So do you have that on your Instagram?
Yeah, I didn't delete a lot of my life before. There were some embarrassing things. I was a party animal before I was injured. I honestly, I tell people, I'm like, I was a terrible person. I was completely self-centered. I was nothing like the person I am today. I wasn't really into fitness. I like to do drugs and drink and, live that life. And that's part of the reason I ended up here is because the crowd I was surrounded by. And so I was like, I need a lifestyle change. So some of it got deleted, but you will see non-disabled Jesi for sure. More on Facebook because I don't upload as much there. If you're on Instagram, like I post almost daily. So it's definitely lost. But if you scroll deep enough, you'll find it.
Yeah, you just gotta do some scrolling.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I completely made a new profiles for my Instagram. I was posting on my old ones for like a while, but I felt insecure, like still about like everybody looking at my pictures. I felt like I couldn't post like confidently enough. And so I completely made a completely different new one. And when people started finding me, I freaked out. I was like, oh no, stop following this page. This isn't for you. But now I'm more comfortable with it. Social media is up and down for sure.
I mean, and being an influencer in itself too, right? Like that's just not it's not for the faint-hearted. And I didn't realize until that 5-year mark, when you become okay and confident with yourself and okay with who you are, where I was like, man, I'm putting a lot of value in what other people think about me. And so when I stopped posting so much for other people and just posted what I needed to hear, how I felt, and a lot of people know me for the naked, like in bed motivational morning messages that I used to throw on my story. I've just been real and authentic, and I would love to see more of that on social media. Not the polished, perfect, pretty people, but like this is my real life. Sometimes I cry and I'm upset about this shit. Other times I'm like, ooh, life is good, and I'm rolling in the role, and I'm doing great. But other times I'm like, these are my friends, and I think it's so important that people see like life isn't always easy. I'm not always smiling. Most of the time I am, but sometimes I'm not. I'm not always on. Like just because what you see on social media is what I want you to see, that doesn't mean that's how it always is. And so from the very beginning, I was like, I'm going to share this authentically. Like I wear pull-ups. I talk about catheters. I have no problem talking about bowel control. I have no problem talking about going back to work and getting off disability and the hard topics that people don't want to talk about, and because they're in fear of getting canceled or whatever it is. And I think social media is a place of like, I have to be accepted. Everyone has to like me. But in the real world, we don't operate that way. So why are we operating that way online?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be drowning for sure. And it's hard to like find that balance of yourself. And I really admire like your confidence in it because it's not easy to show up like that raw and authentically. Like, and honestly, when I'm going through those hard moments, like for me personally, it's the last thing I want to do. Like, and that's just because I have a lot of insecurities though. So have you always been very confident, or was it just that 5-year mark where something happened and you were just like, I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks about me?
It was when I started, I was probably 2 years in, and you know how it is, but I think all you guys know how it is. You fall on the floor and you're like, oh, now I'm stuck. What am I going to do? Right. And I was like 2 years in and I kept falling on the floor. It was a weekly thing. And I got frustrated and I posted a meltdown video on YouTube. And I was like, wow, like there's so many people that relate with this. What if I just go out and post these other things? Like if I'm feeling in this way, I'm not the only one. And so that's what prompted me to just go on and get live authentically when I'm over how shallow people are when it comes to creating content, or if I'm over being disabled, or if I'm having a good day and life is good. I like to go live and I like to talk about that because people can relate with that. It's relatable. Like, we all go through things, we all struggle, we all have good moments.
Yeah, exactly. And so, how has it been with you dealing with the trolls on the internet? With you posting that authentically, I'm sure you have people that are on the opposite side of it, and people just love to Twitter fingers away and just type whatever they're feeling, and like, so I'm sure people have came at you. And how does that react, like, in your mental health day-to-day basis? It's easy to be like, I don't care about those people, but like, do you genuinely not care? Has it been like a progress? How has that been for you?
It's definitely been a process to get to the point where you just don't give a shit what anyone has to say about you. And there are some things that can get under your skin, right? But I've come to a point where I'm like, if you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't like my story, if you don't agree with me, block me so you don't see my content. I literally tell people, I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm happy for you. Block me. Like, I don't care. I don't need your like. I like me enough. It's like Lisa Nichols says, I like me enough. Everyone else's like is extra. And I truly believe that. Your like of me is extra because I'm good with who I am. I know my soul is pure. I know that I have good intentions. I may not be good at articulating that all the time, and that's cool. But like, I really care about humans and I just want to see them successful. I just want to see every wheelchair user have financial freedom and mental freedom from what they're struggling with, just like I've been able to find. I wasn't this way when I was first injured. This was developed over continuous self work. I put so much into my fitness, nutrition, and mindset regularly. That's how I got discharged from the hospital 3 days after having my hardware completely removed and new hardware put in. Like, it's because I prepared.
Oh, that's great. I wish I can tell my wife that she has a couple people that frustrate the heck out of her, and I'm like, unfollow them. Just get out of there. Like, why you follow? It makes you so frustrated. But yeah, no, I see it. I'm not in. I like this. My platform that that Shawn has given me with Live to Roll to express. My Instagram is for only me, and I don't even look at how many likes or whatever people thumbs up. But this is where I can share that, hey, I use the colostomy. Hey, Val hey, I take hydrocodone because the pain sucks. And, whatever it may be, I'm not embarrassed and that I struggle and that my wife helps me now more than ever. And it's a struggle for both of us. And, so I feel like, yeah, to have that outlet and to let people know that we talk here mostly about it's all smile, especially on our guys channel, and that's the way guys are. We don't have those, I guess, outbursts. We have the one button on and off, and we're okay, just a sucky day, or it was a great day, and that's about it. And so we kind of come off a little bit too positive, but I like that you can in the right form of putting the hard days out too. And when we talk about support groups, a lot of people don't go because why? They don't want to hear the whining. And I get it. But not everybody's whining. If you really listen to what it's about, you'll get the meaning of it. And it sounds like that's what you got.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody's on different points of their injury, so it can be definitely hard in that case as well. And like, I feel like we are just genuinely like just happy stoner people, so that's why maybe we come off a little bit like happy and like like laughy, but I feel like we're super authentic as well. And especially on this channel, like we do share those hard days, and I've definitely like have watched you guys all have those hard days as well. Probably as guys they don't feel like they're really showing it, but they definitely do get real with their emotions and like let people know like, hey, like this sucks, I'm having a mental breakdown right now, it's not okay. And but that doesn't mean that tomorrow I'm not going to be smiling. And like we're also like very, very clear about that.
I also think it's the realization too of, one, as you age in the injury is not what upsets you as much, it's life.
Yes.
And then two, because it's life upsetting you, you're literally no different than a non-disabled person. You're the
Mm-hmm.
same. Like we all human beings have things that upset them, frustrate them, struggles. Our struggle just typically is disability related, but we still struggle the same. It still feels the same. We were all non-disabled at one point as far as us four. And like I always think about my life before. I'm like, man, I struggled more as a non-disabled person than I do now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks for itself is like everybody has problems, but it's the self-work that I've done that's allowed me to be able to overcome them.
Mm-hmm.
Was that
Yeah.
when you said like you had a totally different lifestyle, party lifestyle and stuff before? Was that something like right away in rehab you were just like, I'm leaving this behind, or did it take some time to kind of like get that mentality and transition, from that mindset?
It definitely took 2 years when
Okay.
I made that meltdown video of me falling on the floor. I'm like, something's got to change with my lifestyle. I need fitness. I should probably focus on what I'm eating and what I'm consuming mentally. And I think consumption mentally is the biggest thing that really made the largest impact on my life because I realized not that I don't love my community. I have a nonprofit dedicated to wheelchair users. I have a fitness app dedicated to wheelchair users. Like I love my community, but we are very negative. A lot of us are very, very negative. And if you follow a lot of wheelchair users, you're going to be consuming that negative content. And there's a lot of us out there that think that's the way to get attention, and it's not. Because I was one of those people. I was that victimization person of feel bad for me, I'm a wheelchair user. Feel bad for me, I gained 30 pounds because I'm a wheelchair user. But we're not going to talk about that whole cheesecake I just ate or how I drink pop all the time, how shitty my nutrition is, right? Like there was a lack of accountability because I had a disability. And that is what held me back. That is what made this life unbearable. And when I started taking action in my own life and taking responsibility for my actions and saying, hey, Jesi, you caused this hard. It doesn't have to be this hard. That's when I realized, oh, I'm the problem. And by consuming our content and seeing so many of us that are just in that mindset, it's easy to become a victim of that mindset and then that live that way. And it's literally a miserable way to live. Having a disability is not the end of the world. This is literally the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me. It made me a better person.
Yeah, you're preaching over there, girl. I definitely felt a lot of things that you said for sure. And I think one of the things you said was interesting is like the lack of accountability that we do take once we become disabled. I feel like I went through that too. I was kind of just like, oh, I'm disabled now. Like life sucked. And it took me that time to be like, wait, I actually need to work towards something. I need to make little goals if I want even my day to be better because like do I like this version of myself? I'm kind of living life as if I'm not even here. I'm miserable. I was crying all the time, breaking down. And like, it really took me like those moments, to like realize like, wait a minute, I need to change something. Like, yeah, I'm disabled. That sucks. Let's put that in a bubble. What now can I do? How do I get out of this bed? How do I transfer? How do I live life now? Like let me figure out that part of it. And like, it can definitely be challenging and overwhelming if you don't have that support. Or for instance, like me, I've never before had that like positive intake when I was able-bodied. I had lots of trauma, I needed freaking counseling way before that. And so like then being thrown with my disability as well, it was very hard to just deal with being a woman, just deal with your mental health, like not even dealing with the disability part of it, is overwhelming. And so, yeah, I definitely believe in therapy. Therapy is very important. And I just want to go through the comments really quick because I feel like they're kind of popping up a lot really quick. Do you want to go through them really quick, Shawn?
Yeah, shout out Grandma in the chat there. Gracie said she had so
Hi,
much fun at the Rolex
Gracie.
experience. She said she's not sure if she got to meet Jesi. They were actually in the booth. You guys were right behind us in that booth, like, in the corner back there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Gracie, hopefully
My new
we'll meet
account
next
is
time.
the account that everybody knows down. That's the Brianna Rolls on. Before I had an old account, and that's gonna be anonymous, so you guys don't get to know. And yeah. Hi, Roy.
Yeah, Roy. We got Ishmael,
TLC.
TLC in the chat as well.
Dama,
And
love
she's
you.
TLC actually said she's 32 years in, still trying to get there. So thanks for sharing. That's what the struggle's different for everybody. Sometimes people can immediately figure transition, And sometimes it's harder. Life is harder. Things come up. Things are
Yeah. I
everybody's
also
You
different.
know,
realize that sometimes it's like some people go through a lot of traumatic things before their injury, and then some people, their injury is the first traumatic thing that happens to them. And I think that really does affect how much you're getting out and how much you're like able to accept the injury, and also your location, right? Like I feel like us in Los Angeles, we kind of take advantage of how easy we
Yeah.
have like support groups and so many, this large community of people, but like it is harder when you don't really have that outlet to go to, and I don't know how long it would have took me if I was in one of those excluded areas, so it's just like trying to find the outlets of like, yeah, then you lean on social media, you reach out to people that way. These Zooms are a great way, they're not Zooms, they're lives. And like just connecting in a different way is really important too, because now we have like the online support groups and different things like that, so it's not hopeless. But yeah, I just feel like maybe that's why everybody has a different start of it.
Well,
Did
we're
you,
also
Jesse?
all individuals too, right? Like we have our own individual life experience, our own way of handling things. Like I didn't realize how much trauma I was carrying until I got paralyzed. And that's something we don't consider is like I had so much self-doubt and limiting beliefs about what I was capable of before I was paralyzed. And it
Mm-hmm.
took me getting paralyzed to realize how much it was me holding me back. But it wasn't an overnight thing. And too often
Mm-hmm.
we expect instant results. Like I've been putting in work on my mental health, on my physical being since 2017. So that's 6 years of me putting in continuous work. And sometimes I fell off and some I'd get right back on. Sometimes I wouldn't get right back on. I think that's understanding that everyone's journey looks different. None of us are linear, but it's going to take consistent effort over a long period of time to heal, to be able to grow, and to become who you're capable of becoming.
1,000%.
let me ask you a question. So 2 years after, you had that rant, and and the little that we're starting to get to know you here today, and fitness is a big part of your life. And for me, fitness has been there since day one. I was an All-American athlete, I mean, since a young kid, it was baseball, then it was racquetball, then it was, swimming to where I got to JOs, and then it was triathlons, and then it was cycling. And so when at 17, here I am, paralyzed, C5-6 quad, going, okay, I'm 17, life cannot be over. Let's do this like I did everything else beforehand. And I was one of those, I thought, when they told me I'm paralyzed, never going to walk again, you'll use a wheelchair. And I'm like, wait a second, that can't be right, because if I broke my neck, you die, because that's all we told each other when we were, jumping off the roof into a pool. Like, don't break your neck because you'll die instantly, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to burn up, because that's a pretty big flame down there in the pool that you put today. So, and that's how crazy we got. But I never broke anything except many fingers from crashes and stuff like that. But luckily, nothing. But so here I am thinking you die when you get paralyzed, but that wasn't or when you break your neck, but that wasn't the case. And I took it as like, here's my first trauma. Let's treat it like your sports. Make the goals. I tried to write down the goals, but my handwriting was terrible before and became atrocious after. And I thank God for now we dictate everything and not write everything, So, um, but I did those goals in my head. It was going to be like this part, this part, this part. You're going to get to first, sit up where you can sit up all day. Then you're going to get to where you can move your arms and sit up on the mat, then to the pushing chair. So I brought it in that way and continue now that sports has always been a part of my life. So and I probably went on too long for that, but when did sports become, and did that make it this road go like to the direction you wanted to be because of, getting fit and nutrition, which can be a huge part for a lot of people. And I know it's not for everybody, but if you do find that love, like I did, and Shawn did when he finally found rugby, it makes a big impact in your life. You learn so much so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I was on the U.S. developmental team for wheelchair curling for 3 years, and
Really?
Yeah.
So, I have been so I have a buddy that's all about curling. Every Winter Olympics, he's like, bro, let's do this. He's like, when are we going to?
Do it. Do it. It's
That's
so
so awesome.
fun.
I didn't know any other. That's so
What is
cool.
it? I didn't even know you
You
guys.
don't know what curling's
We're
like
on
those big
ice.
stones and you move on the
Yeah.
ice. Like it's like I don't know why it interests me so much. Like every Winter Olympics, it's like my favorite thing to watch is curling. I don't know.
I don't even think I've seen it before.
Oh, it's
We get
It's
awesome.
totally
like
the
that.
sweepers. Like yep, I
Yeah,
love
You don't
it.
want sweepers
they're
in
like,
wheelchairs because that's too dangerous. So you literally have to throw the stone from one end to the other. But before curling, so I raced off road my whole life. I raced four wheelers and dirt bikes, and then when I got paralyzed, one of the media publications, John Pellin, he reached out to me and he goes, "Hey, would you want to race for Polaris in a single seat side by side?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I'd want to race for Polaris in a single seat side by side." So I'm literally in the hospital still. My surgeon comes in. I'm like, "Yo, is it cool if I go race?" And he's like, "I guess." And so I got to race for Polaris for 3 years after getting out of the hospital. And I think that going back to what I did before I was injured is what allowed me to accept it more and realize, okay, I could still do things. And then the more I learned wheel skills will set you free, especially again as a para. I have a different experience, right? But like learning wheel skills, learning how to wheelie over rocks and roots allowed me to get back to hiking in the mountains. And I go on trails that are marked hard and it's really ridiculous. And like I took my roommate with me, Brianna, and she yeeted herself out of her chair. It was so funny because
I saw that.
she couldn't hold wheelies yet, and she didn't learn the wheel
Oh,
skills yet. So then we learned what she needed to go back to PT and learn to become more independent. And so now we could go out into a trail, and she's not going to yeet herself. She's going to be able to wheelie over that. And so, like, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of getting comfortable in your wheelchair, getting comfortable maneuvering your wheelchair, and getting over the fear of falling. The sooner you get over the fear of falling, the sooner you're going to be willing to take more risks, and the freer you get, and the less bound you are to your disability.
A
well,
thousand percent.
I have a saying that for manual chair users, if you haven't fallen out of your chair in the first year, you're doing something wrong because you got to challenge yourself. And
I feel like for like the first 2 years, probably like the first 4 years, I'm capping right now, I had a really hard time falling out of my chair. Like I would fall out, but when I did, instant breakdown. I would start crying like hysterically. Like my whole day was ruined. I was so upset. And like, it was more of the instant, like, I think mental, like I'm disabled. Now what
Yeah.
the fuck am I going to do? Like now I have to ask somebody for help. Or also things that I've done is struggle for 3 hours trying to get back inside my chair because I'm by myself. And like that's also super frustrating, you know? And so it took me a while to realize like it wasn't honestly until I got my dog and I fell out and my dog was like still so excited. He was like jumping around, he was on me, and like it just made me kind of relax for a moment. And I'm just like, he's like, Mom, what are you doing on the floor? You know, like you're supposed to be back in your chair. Like, and it just made me laugh for the first time about it. And I was like, okay, like I got this. Like now it's not that big of a deal. Literally, my tires are flat, and I was transferring, and my chair moved, and my brother, just being a jerk, he just didn't hold my chair. He wanted me to see if I was actually going to do my transfer, and I did it, and my chair went sliding away, and he was like, how did you think you were gonna make that right now? And I'm like, well, two things are gonna happen. I'm gonna fall on the floor, I'm gonna make it on the bed. Then if I fall on the floor, I'm gonna deal with it, you know? And I just like I tell that to newly injured people all the time, like it's okay, like get used to that. And also tell your PT, like, I want to work on getting back in my chair. I think that will motivate you and give you a lot of confidence as well.
Agreed so much. And then also, so I found fitness, and when I say I found nutrition, I thought I was eating healthy by like eating salads and whole foods. But I got 5 years into my injury, and I was having to get cortisone shots every 3 months in my shoulders. I couldn't transfer. I couldn't get dressed. I was struggling to go to the bathroom because my shoulder health was deteriorating. And what was happening was I was working out and constantly in muscle breakdown and not fueling my body properly. So I started tracking my nutrition and found out I was only eating about 30 to 60 grams of protein. And I'm like, holy crap. So I started eating and meeting my macros and the proper amount of calories that I should have been eating, which I eat 1,700 calories a day, which it sounds like a lot for a disabled person, but like I'm going to the gym, I'm working out. And so if you are a wheelchair user and you are working out, you need to fuel your body properly. 1,200 calories is not going to cut it. And I recommend working with a one-on-one nutrition coach like myself or Nikki Walsh. Like we have the certifications and we're in the population and we're here to serve you. But that's what got me into nutrition coaching is because I'm like, how many wheelchair users are 5 years in and getting shoulder surgery that could have been avoided with nutrition because we're not educated on it?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also about the proper care of what you're doing and your techniques and your daily morning of stretching and stretching before working out, cooling down after, so many of those things. Brianna, I know you're going to hate this comment, but
I'm
every
already
Friday,
hating what you're saying right now in
I
general.
know. Right now, what you have to say about your tires, but every Friday is my maintenance wheels, of making sure that I got 110 psi in my wheels, because if I'm down with low tires at 20, 40, psi, my shoulders are going to be crap because now it's harder for me to push. So yeah, it's a proper maintenance day of my chair. Is my Rojo, at the proper where I need it? Yes. Is it, did I clean off the dirt and crud out of my seat and frame of anything that spilled? Check. You got to make sure, not only the stretching, but the hygiene to our chairs too, that when I see people, especially, nothing against power chair users, and there's a lot of nooks and crannies, but, a lot of them have AIDS. That should be a part of your daily, wipe down of, getting that stuff and being proper about it.
Well, then also learning how to work on your own wheelchair too, right? Like the casters, think about how often the bearings or the casters themselves, they get hair in them. Now you're pushing against that hair, they're moving slower. And like I made a video the other week of me changing the bearings in my casters and I used a screwdriver and a hammer because most people have those tools in their house. People are like, you can get a skateboard tool, you could do this. And I'm like, that wasn't the point of the video. The point of the video is to show how easy it is to maintenance your chair on your own. I changed my own wheelchair tires. Same thing, check the air, because if you have low tire pressure and you're experiencing more back pain, could be your low tire pressure that's causing the back pain too. Like our body tells us when there's things wrong. And I think that's what's cool about being a disabled person. Like I started realizing food, for example. I started eating from a local farm, all of my meat specifically from a local farm. About 6 months into that, my mom bought a store-bought steak. Brianna and I both had like an ounce of my mom's steak. We literally had a bite. The next day, we both woke up and shit. I'm like, that is our body telling us that meat is something toxic to our body because we'd been eating clean meat for so long. And it was an instant shock. And I think that's the cool thing about having a spinal cord injury. If you pay attention to what your body's telling you, I could tell you 2 days before my period starts that my period's about to start in 2 days because my nerve higher, my spasms are higher, I have a weird headache, my bowels completely change, those consistency and smell of my urine changes. And when you pay attention to what your disabled body is telling you, you have more control over your disabled body because you can control the variables that are causing that nerve pain, that headache, the spasms. Like if I don't stand and use electric stimulation, my spasms are nuts. I mean, pay attention to what you do and how it affects your body. Pay attention to what you're eating and how it affects your body.
So how did you learn all these things? Because like you said, you weren't like super into fitness before. So like, I think what a lot of people struggle with is like, all right, and even myself, like, okay, I want to exercise, but now where do I start? Like, how do I know I'm doing the right exercises? How do I know I'm not like what you said, like I'm exercising, but I'm not eating right? Like, if nobody ever tells me, like, how do I know? Because honestly, like our doctors aren't that educated in those things, and especially spinal cord injuries. And like, I've never been told those things. So it's like, where do you start? Like, how do you get the right information?
So Nikki Walsh and I have been one-on-one coaches separately for about a year, and we have decided to combine our efforts. So we have a free Facebook group called Wheel With Me Adapt Fit, and we share nutrition information. There's a live workout every week. We share mental growth things. There's journal prompts. We ask you, different things that are holding you back, questions you have about your fitness journey, about your life journey. And it's really cool because it's a community of people that are relying on each other. And that's really how you develop. The Facebook group is completely free. Now, if you're looking to dive in deeper to exercises, we have the Wheel With Me Adapt Fit Fitness app. It's currently in the App Store as Wheel With Me Fitness. We're undergoing a rebrand right now, but you will look for that. We have workouts for beginners. There's going to be more programs uploaded in there. You're going to see continuous content uploaded every month. And for other free workouts, I believe his name is Adapt to Perform. He's Ben. He's out of the UK. So he's also another good one to look at and follow. But like, use your community. Stop being so anti-community and be like, I don't want to be associated with wheelchair users. It doesn't make you less than, it makes you more. The more that you accept your community and grow with your community and collaborate. That was the biggest thing with Nikki and I was like, Nikki, we are serving a niche population and we are doing it at this level. We both are. Why would we compete? That doesn't make sense. If we collaborate, we can help more people and get our community more independent. And our goal is to eventually be able to employ our community to do the same thing and continue to grow this together. Like, we want to give our community jobs. Going back to work last year, I went back to work full time as an orthodontic assistant. I got completely off of Social Security disability. Luckily I live in a state where I can buy Medicaid, so I pay for Medicaid every month, so I have full insurance. And it gave me freedom. Going back to work is the greatest thing I could have ever done because I'm no longer living in poverty. I actually have money, I have structure, I have purpose. And when you gain purpose in life, it makes it easier. And I think the biggest thing that newly injured people try to do is they try to help others before they help themselves. And one of the biggest things I tell somebody that's newly injured, I'm like, I understand you want to help people because they're like, I want to create a nonprofit and I want to do these things. I'm like, I understand you want to do these things, but you need to figure out yourself before you can help others. You need to figure out what makes you happy, where you're going to get your joy from before you try and give that to other people.
And also, we have the great community of YouTube. And like you said, Adapt to Perform with Ben Clark, is an awesome guy. There's so many videos that, some outdated, but still it's movement. It's about movement. Everybody wants, you don't have to, they're like, I don't work out because my gym's not accessible and it's hard to get around and I don't like it. And it's like, it's really not about the weights, and it's about movement. And that's always been my thing, as long as you're moving. And, I have a friend that's constantly getting injured and he keeps coming back to a workout group that I'm involved with. And I keep telling him, stop bringing your 10 pounds, stop bringing your 5. I just want you to move. If you're looking, that's all you need is the movement. You're going to feel so much better. It's not about weight. It's about the movement and about the flexibility that you can get. That's why Ben is great when he has his yoga days and it's about the stretching and so, but with YouTube nowadays, you can get all of that. You can go on there. There's a couple others out there. What's the other one in UK? And JJ, you might know it. Oh God, it's with the gal. She does the wheelchair rollers. Oh, what is her name? I can't. But there's another group in UK. They have a lot of good videos. One that is just a movement cardio boxing. No weights, no nothing. That's all you need.
20 minutes. We have in the app too. We have workouts from bed. That's just body weight workouts in bed. So like somebody that has to wait for a caregiver, there's no excuse. We have a body weight workout in bed. Like, we're just here. It's a class. It's live like this where you're like, the instructor's talking, but you're in bed. The cool thing about the app is there's other wheelchair users in it too. And I think that's what I wanted to provide something where we have other members of the community. So you have somebody that looks like you. Because I think that's also something that's discouraging as well. That person has this injury and I can't do it because they have that injury. And it's like, well, no, we have a little bit of everything in here. But you're completely right. Body weight movement is just as effective. As I'm recovering from surgery, I'm not allowed to lift over 10 pounds until November 24th. So I've been doing a lot of body weight movement and a lot of resistance bands, and it's just as effective. It's still movement. It's still maintaining muscle. And that's what it's about, is maintaining what you have and maintaining your body for longevity. This is a lifetime sentence. You're not just like, okay, I'm paralyzed for 10, 15 years and it goes away. Like, you are a wheelchair user for your life. And if you want to still be independent 10, 15, 20 years from now, what you do right now matters. That's why I only competed in CrossFit for like 2, 3 years, because CrossFit is very hard on your body. And it's not something for me personally that I feel is sustainable long term with those fast, heavy movements for my longevity of independence with my shoulder health. And so trying to be cognitive of that, of like, I want to be independent well into my 60s and 70s. I don't want to have to rely on people. So I'm going to be as productive and proactive now as possible for that long-term goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right on. And how much does your app cost?
It's currently $12.99 a month, but the
Good.
price may be raising.
Okay. Yeah, because you're adding more content and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So
Which is that's so good price range. You have to invest in yourself, I think like that's important as well. As much as like there is stuff on like line, Ben, Disabled Yogi, she's another good one that does like yoga poses as well and different things like that. Like really having a community, if you want to dive deeper in that, having somebody like that keeps you accountable is really good. And I think the fact that your Facebook group is free is super dope too. Just because there's a place where you can just go, and like maybe get a feel for it first. Because I know some people are just like have the hardest time paying that freaking $12.99 a month for themselves, although they'll pay $20 for a cheeseburger, and so like it's just one of those things that you kind of have to like weigh the options out a little bit, and like make sure that it's important. And it may not seem important like right now, this moment, but when you break down exactly what Jesi said, like the things that you need to be able to do and the things that you want to be able to do, that freedom that we crave, like, and not overdoing it too. I feel like I'm struggling right now, I think, with my shoulder health and kind of like my first year I was finally like, oh, I can transfer, I can do this, I can grab this, I can do all these things. And now I'm like, ow, I feel a little bit in pain now. Like my body's catching up to me, And so that's definitely a struggle. But yeah, your body health is so, so important. So I think that's really cool that you guys are collaborating and you guys are bringing this to the community, because like, as big as our community is, there's not a lot of people that are focused on fitness. There's a couple of those groups, and it's something that all of us should be focused on, honestly, because it's so important for our health.
And you don't have to be like diehard, hardcore in the gym every day fitness. Like Bobby even just said, movement. You be out moving. Like if that means you're just gonna go outside, push around the block of your neighborhood, like once a day, do like whatever, that's great. That gets your blood flow going. Anything, start small. Don't overdo it. Don't over try to do stuff. But also Ishmael asking in the chat just what the name of your app is. I think he's trying to look it up on.
It is Wheel Me Fitness. So you can get that in the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. It's in both of them. Wheel with Me Fitness. And the Facebook group is Wheel with Me Adapt Fit.
Is that what the app is going to be called?
Yeah.
Okay. Dope. Yeah, that's super dope. I also wanted to ask you about the mud run, because I thought that was super interesting that you did that as well. So how was that for you, like mentally? Like, how was it challenging? Did you like doubt yourself because of your disability? Like, what was really going on through your head, like as you were so determined to do this, like compared to the first one? How many did you do? Like 3 or something?
I've done 15 Tough Mudders.
Holy crap. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I've done their 24-hour event 4 times, which is what you're thinking of. And then
that's what I'm thinking.
I've done more overnight events than I have daytime events. And my favorite thing about Tough Mudder is, as people with disabilities, we work so hard for our independence, and you're giving that up and trusting non-disabled people for the time that you're on course. Not that you through the obstacles. I climb the obstacles. I always make sure to belay on the obstacles, anything where I could fall, just to protect our legs, right? Because even though our legs don't work, they still matter. They're still attached to us. You need to treat them with love and respect. And so I went cognitive of that. I do think that that's how my hardware broke, was the 24-hour one. So you're going nonstop for 24 hours. You're doing a Tough Mudder obstacle course race. You're in and out of ice baths. You're in and out of water. Like there's one obstacle called cage crawl where the water is literally around your face and you're on a fence on your back in the water and like pulling on a fence to get yourself across the obstacle. I always wore a Foley leg bag, and I always wore a wetsuit, a full wetsuit, one for temperature control, but two also to protect our limbs because I'm getting drugged through mud and whatnot. One time my Foley bag did rip open, so we had to completely strip me down and replace the bag because obviously you don't want that water to go back in. But I will say the 24 hours, the overnight part, combating your mind when you start to get cold, because you guys know we get cold so easy. And it would be like in the 40s and you're in and out of water. And so you have to think about how quick you get cold. And it was that mental battle of, I'm not cold, I'm not cold, and really fighting that. And by my last World's Toughest Mudder, I was able to overcome that easily. And I think that was the coolest thing, was being able to overpower my mind and my actual physical being to just be unstoppable in that moment. And it translated into life, right? So I think that was probably one of the coolest things personally that I took away. The best part about Tough Mudder was the impact that we got to make. And it wasn't just me. There's been a lot of wheelchair users to do it. But when you do World's Toughest Mudder, there's mileage bibs. And it's like you get a different color bib for the miles you hit. And the lowest one was 50 miles. And so that was a bronze, 75 was silver, and then 100 is a gold bib. And so this past year, they made a 25-mile silver bib for adaptive athletes because that's a really big deal for us to get 25 miles.
Aww.
And so for the first year, our team had specific bibs that said adaptive team on it. And then we had the mileage goal bib. And so to be able to actually get 25 miles and get the first bib and like to see our hard work, it had been 5 years that we'd been doing Tough Mudders, to see that all kind of come full circle. And for adaptive athletes to truly be included, it was powerful. And it really shows that if we want to see change in the world, we have to be the ones to create the change. No one's coming to save us. Non-disabled people don't give a shit about us until they have to give a shit about us. And so it's up for us to make the change. Like something that I'm working on in my state is getting the Medicaid buy-in resource limit removed, because that resource limit won't allow us to get married, won't allow us to have over $2,000 in the bank. Even though we're working full-time, you still can't have those resources over that, and you're paying for Medicaid. And so like trying to get these things that don't make sense changed, right? But it starts with us. We have to be the ones to do it. And bitching on the internet is not what's going to create change. It takes you going out, speaking to your local lawmakers, getting involved with the people that are running things and making decisions to get that change implemented. Bitching on the internet's not doing it. Go out and be the change you want to see.
Advocate.
Mhm.
Catch our
Yeah,
show
so-
on Tuesday was all about advocating for
Yeah,
yourself.
that's what we just talked about. Yeah, get out in the community. You got to do that work.
And also keeping yourself accountable as well. You know, one thing that you were saying, how to get the start, or for people out there, another way is, get that goal tracker. If it's an Apple Watch to keep track of your fitness and hit those rings each day, that's an easy way. And yeah, iWatches are expensive, but you can go out and get an iWatch 5 now on Facebook Marketplace for, under $100. And then, I keep myself accountable by my Strava, and you count, you make the goals yourself, that I'm going to hit 25 miles on my hand cycle each week. I'm going to hit 6 miles of pushing each week, and I'm going to have 10 hours of working out each week, and keep yourself accountable. And when you get that check, you feel like a winner. And that's all I care about for me, is just for myself. I'm not doing it for anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm so curious about the mud run still, because that just flabbergasted me.
That
So
honestly did, but that 24-hour thing, I'm like, what?
yeah, I'm a little mind blown by it. So you didn't know in the beginning, were you fighting for that change like from day one, or like what made you do the second mud run after you did the first one? Like what does it give you? Like, was it like confidence? Like what was it that you feel like it gave you?
The first one, I quit. Or I didn't quit, but I quit overnight because I was too cold. I got too cold and I let the cold take over, and it won. And so I was like,
You're a little disappointed probably, huh?
I was so disappointed. You have a mileage goal. I didn't meet it. I let myself down. I let my team down. And it was the worst feeling of defeat. And I said, you know what? I'm never going to feel this way again. So the next year, it went from Vegas to Atlanta, and it's in November. So the weather wasn't the greatest. In Atlanta, I will never forget, I was climbing up. They have this massive A-frame. It's like a 4-story A-frame, and it's all cargo net, and you got to climb up the top and then you climb down the other side. And as I'm climbing up, my hands are freezing to the cargo net, and there was frost on it. And at one point, they said the temperature dropped down to 28 degrees. And so I got cold, and my whole team got cold. And I started with a team of 6 people, including myself, and I finished with a team of 4, including myself. So 2 people dropped out. At one point, they pulled my wetsuit completely off me, and another pit person was doing skin to skin warm up. This was at 11 or so, we stopped. At 2 in the morning, I was completely warm and I was ready to go, but my team was just done. They're like, we can't do this. It's too cold. In this race, they had the most dropouts. So finally, they're like, we're going to wait for the sun to come up. Once the sun comes out, we'll go get our last lap. I'm like, all right, cool. And so it was really cool from the year before I quit to that year my team quit. And that's when I knew that my mindset had shifted, and I had gritted my mind and I developed more. And I'm like, let's go again. I want to get 25 miles. I know I can get 25 miles because my first year I got 20. And then that year I only got 15. And so the next year I was like 25 miles. Let's go. We're going to do it. And we were able to achieve that in 2021.
That is super fucking dope. Like, really dope. Like, it takes like a strong mental to be able to do that. Like,
it's been developed though. Like, and I think the biggest tool, if you guys, listening, the biggest tool that you can take away from today is reading 10 pages of a nonfiction personal development book every single day. Just like pick a book. My next book is Outwitting the Devil. That's what I'm reading. It's really good. It's about outwitting that devil inside of you, that inner voice that tries to talk you back to safety, doesn't allow you to grow. It's a really good book. And if you read 10 pages a day, you'll average a book a month. If you read a book a month, you're learning from someone else's experience, and then you can apply that in your own life, and it's like a shortcut. The only reason I've grown and developed is because I've had this habit for 3 years. And this habit has allowed me to shortcut so much in life because I'm just learning constantly. Every day I'm learning another way to attack life, or another way to be a better motivational speaker, or another way to be a better business owner. And like the things that I'm passionate about, I'm learning about on a daily basis, and it's allowing me to become better.
Yeah, and people don't often see that behind the scenes of things, like we talked about in the beginning. They kind of see just that Instagram reel and they're like, damn, why can't I be confident and go out and do that right now? Well, because you haven't been working on yourself, girl, or guy. Like you got to put in that effort. And I think that's where it really changed with me too. Honestly, I did the Boundless Babe Society on the Rolettes Experience, the Rolettes Do It, the Boundless Babe Society. And it just tackled in like different topics of my life, not so much my disability, but like forgiveness, confidence, just like different little things, time management, like little stuff like that, where I was like, honestly, never fucking thought about these things ever, and like it takes that personal growth, honestly, for you to grow and for you to become more confident in your chair. I think it starts within, and you can always grow. If you feel like I'm perfect right now the way I am, it's just not the truth. You're probably causing some people to go to therapy because of you, honestly, because you need to work on yourself. I think it's constant, whether you're getting that, like from exercise, from self-help books, from God, from different things. You got to be fueling your soul, and you got to feel like there's something you got to work on. And like, what can I change? It's really easy to bitch about all the people around you. Trust me, I know. But it takes a moment to be like, how can I change so the situation can change too? Like maybe what am I doing wrong? What are my triggers today? And working on those little things, that's how you become happier in life, honestly.
That's what I think I'm most excited for, Nikki and I. So I've been working on a course for years because I'm leaning more towards the corporate side of things. I want to do a lot of corporate workshops. But I started creating a course, and Nikki also wanted to create a course. So we actually in January are launching a 30-day challenge of mindset, nutrition, and fitness. So on Wednesday, Friday, there's a new video. It's literally going to be a course where you're going to watch a video, and it's going to talk about past, present, future. And then we're talking about like different parts of nutrition and how it serves you. And then there will be different workouts, and it's going to be levels. It's going to start with your body weight and then resistance bands and then adding weight and then getting to the gym. And so the goal is to give people 30 days to really kind of understand these are the tools you can do. And then following that, we are releasing a 12-week course. So that is something that Wheel With Me Adapt Fit will be offering as well.
I think that's super cool. We have Gracie in the chat that says she just got your app right now. So that's super cool, and I think that that's so exciting because honestly, like we need that guidance. So it's kind of like the Balance Babe Society, but like in fitness, and like that's super, super dope. I think that that's going to really help our community out, and also like inspire other people to do the same thing and like to put their workouts out, and like you said, like join your company, like and get that like community bigger so that we can get healthier and we can, like also feel that into the newcomers that are coming into, and joining our community. There can be more education around this topic,
Yes. And it also starts with us volunteering at our local rehabs, right? Like I'm a volunteer at both a rehab in Charlotte and one in South Carolina. And I think it's just very impactful. Just us spending an hour of our time with somebody that's newly injured can completely change their perspective on life and what they're capable of. And like getting involved, every rehab does spinal cord ed. So like whatever you're passionate about, I go in and talk about sex and disability because I think sexual confidence is very important with a disability. And I love to talk about that. I go in, my favorite thing is to go in and talk to men. And I'm like, so I'm really here. And the first thing I'm like, you want to know how to make your dick work? That's like the first thing I say. I'm like, there's things out there that you can use. I'm like, there's shots, there's pills, there's all kinds of things. I recommend you play with it, see what you could do. And if it becomes hard, I'll give you the name of that stuff. And it's like, that breaks the ice and it makes comfort. Just like when I go in and talk to a woman, I'm like, let me show you how I cath. And I get on the toilet and I cath for women because it makes so much more sense for some people to actually see it. And that's the impact that we are able to have with our knowledge and our experience and our injury. And we owe it to the future of the community to pay it forward. And we should be volunteering.
Yeah, I feel like I keep saying 1,000% because I'm just feeling, like you're precious. But I feel like that's what we're all about too. Like all of us are very big on going to the hospitals, talking to newly injured people. I think that like is so important and it really does help. And that's what also Live to Roll is all about. Like we're educating, motivating, and empowering our community. And we're just sharing our tips and tricks that we've learned in life, for people to hopefully learn from and just make your life a little bit more easier, and I feel like it does help me a lot. I feel like I do have a purpose and I feel like if that's what I'm put on this life to do, is just educate people from all this bullshit that I've been through and just share my story. Like, who am I to deny that? Like it's not that hard. And I feel like it's super dope also that it is from our experience. It's not like we, are going to school for 5 years and learning this topic and then having to like discuss about it. Like, no, it really is personal. And I think that connects to people as well. Looking in somebody's eyes and being like, no, I do understand you like completely, is something so soothing as well to hear on the other side of things, so you might not be the one with the questions, but if you got the answers, join in the support groups, help out the community, that plays forward. There's people that I went in their hospital room, and even Bobby, I just talked to Aaron Baker, is that his name? And he was like, Bobby was the first one that came in my room and I hated it, but I got out there and now he's so big and all these things, like it may not seem like it's an important thing at that time, because of course they're going through their hardest moments, but you really can be a light and it can change people's life. I have girls that still come up to me and like, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't become your friend in the beginning, and so, yeah, I hope that inspires some of you guys to reach out. Even on social media, you see somebody struggling, offer a friendship, do a watch party together, like just create that community, offer that help.
Yeah, and if you do have a local rehab anywhere in your area, I would consider trying to volunteer out there because Bobby was the guy that came into my room 19 years ago. Like he was the guy, he was the one and that was before cell phones. He had a little flip book with like old school pictures. Like, look at all this cool shit I do. Look at this. Like, and he's like showing me all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And without that, I may not have done like the things I've done, since my injury. So it really does help. And yeah. Bobby's the man. So
Love that. I had her name was Megan, and I'll never forget. She's like, "Yeah, I work full time for a DME company, and she did wheelchair seating." And then she's like, "Yeah, and I water ski and I do this." And I was like, "Oh, okay, life is fine." Something. So I have a nonprofit called Wheel with Me Foundation, and every quarter we have an empowerment week where a member of our community each evening teaches their skill or trade. So we've had Megan, who's an interior designer. We've had Fatima, who's a nutritionist, the Vertical Blonde, who does focuses on mindset. We've had Danny Gomez, who obviously is an actor. Jessica Koheg, who does advocating and teaches how to advocate. We had a local organization on that teaches you how to build a resume so you can get a job. Dr. Tepper to talk about sex and disability. And so it's really cool that we've had members of our community sharing their skill and trade to empower other members of the community. And that's what it's about, is us sharing what we can do and what we're capable of. And that's what raises confidence. And then on the flip side, connecting with people, because damn, I'm only 8 years in. I have a hell of a lot to learn from Bobby, who's been at this for 35 years. Like, we learn from the veterans in this community, and regardless of how deep we think we're in our injury, we can always learn from each other. And that's the beauty of connecting and collabing with one another, is we can continuously learn and grow and develop together to create a more impactful and powerful community.
Yes, I didn't realize that your nonprofit is different than your fitness. So it's not a fitness page. That is completely different, the nonprofit. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. But you got into the nonprofit first.
Yes. So Wheel With Me Foundation's been around since 2016. And we just actually got our 501c3 reinstated earlier this year. So our ultimate goal is to build a transitional community in an apartment complex for wheelchair users only. I want like a real life support group. I think that's what's going to allow us to be impactful and to help one another. No nurses, nobody teaching you how to be a wheelchair user. It's wheelchair user to wheelchair user teaching you how to be a wheelchair user. So essentially, my first goal is a halfway house for wheelchair users to learn. It's all wheelchair users, because think about the people that were injured young or with spina bifida. They don't know how to be independent a lot of times. And these are populations that are underserved, and like, we need to be contributing members of community. There's no reason that over 50% of us rely solely on government assistance for our independence. There's so much more out there for us to have, and so much more life to have. And it's going to take us going to get it. And so I want to help empower the community for that. That's what I care about.
oh, that's
No,
awesome.
that's great, because a lot of time we have a great organization that, they provide homes for those with the higher level, vent quads and higher levels of no place to go, and their family can't take care of them. But I think the big miss is, the care for and the advocacy for yourself, and how to act. There's one gentleman that's coming out of it advocating for himself, and he's the first one that, like, holy crap, you're kicking ass. You're the first one I finally, and luckily he's there for the others. But before that, there wasn't a lot there. There was a couple people that went in there with disabilities, and that was great. And she's a great gal that has empowered some, but they really need to have courses and teach them how to get out there and live your life, that you're not going to have to be stuck here for 15 years, and just rely on a nurse to do this and this and this for you. Granted, yes, you're on a vent, you can't grab this and that, but it's also, how are you going to get out there and live, go back to school, like, and educate yourself each and every day about, one, we talked about listening to your body. It's like you said, I know 24 hours before I'm going to get a UTI. Just,
Yeah.
it's like, yep, here comes the spasm tomorrow. And sure enough, I have this one spasm that it just takes me back, and I'm like, crud, there's that UTI. So, and so it's just about listening to yourself, listening to your body, know when you're low with energy, how to feel it right, and understand it. I do have one question about your Mudda Run, and something you did say. What's the training like, and how does one go about by your component on protecting your shoulders? I've seen Mudda Runs, and I've seen a couple disabled athletes do it. It seems like a lot of shoulder pulls,
Yeah.
with the cold. your muscles aren't warm, so easier to pull muscles. So how did you go about that?
So CrossFit definitely was helpful for that because of the high intensity, but this is where nutrition plays a role. I mean, I eat 150 grams of protein a day just to build the muscle, to be able to maintain my muscle, to get myself out of muscle breakdown. During a 24-hour event, every single lap I'm doing a post-workout protein. Every other lap I'm doing a micronutrient pack. It's all nutrition that really supports your body through that. The cold showers, I still take cold showers to this day. Brianna laughs because on Saturdays are my warm shower day. And so every Saturday morning, she's like, guess what day it is? It's warm shower day, because that's something that allowed me to develop that mindset. And now the cold shower is nothing. But it's getting your body in situations like that. Like my next fitness event that I'm training for is something called High Rocks, which is literally all cardio. So I'm going to be skiing, rowing, pushing, and it's going to be very intense. But as long as my nutrition matches that, I'll be a little bit better off. As long as I'm still stretching every morning, as long as I'm getting in my standing frame. Like, I think standing is very underrated for what it does for our body, because so often we're sitting like this with our shoulders rolled forward, and we don't realize how much we're leaning forward and kind of hunched over. Whereas when you get in the standing frame, you're allowing yourself to kind of pull back and get your body vertical and completely stretched out. That's been a monumental thing for me, is being able to be upright. And I mean, I'm talking, I spend 2 to 3 hours in the thing. Like I'll work from up there just so that way our bodies aren't meant to sit. It helps with pain. But getting up every morning, like Bobby said, every morning, do some stretches. Like I do a full shoulder stretch and eyes, Y's, and T's, which are probably the worst workouts we ever have to do, where you lay on your stomach and you have your arms straight out and you're lifting them up. Like before I get out of bed, eyes, Y's, and T's, I'm stretching my shoulders. I go to the door frame, I'm stretching them this way. Like you have to take care of your body and be proactive now if you want to do things like Tough Mudders, if you want to do things like CrossFit, because you could go do it, but you're only going to last for so long. And then that takes away, you have to realize what, if you're doing that and you're not fueling your body properly, you're not recovering properly, you're not stretching properly, you're just going to affect the longevity of your independence, and you're going to shorten that significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. That's the nutrition, everything, and stretching, just body, management, and is so important, I think. So we're on a little over an hour already, so we are going to start to wrap up. Is there anything like kind of these last little bits have been some good advice, but do you have anything else you kind of want to leave people with? And then also where people we've mentioned a couple times, but where they can find the app, where they can find your Facebook page, make sure we get all that stuff out here.
I think the most important thing is realizing that nobody's coming to save you, and you have to take responsibility for your own life. And regardless of if you decide to show up or not, time's going to still pass. So you might as well make the best of what's been handed to you. You can't undo it. You can't take it back. And the sooner that you realize that and just get over yourself and make the best of it, the sooner that you're going to be able to live life to the fullest. And it sucks. And I'm not saying that it's easy. This isn't an easy way to live. It's not the ideal way to live, but it can also be very rewarding if you allow it to be. And it's the sooner you get over yourself and realize, you know what, I can do this. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. I'm still alive. For me, you can find me at Jesi Stracham. Looks like Stracham, pronounced Strawham. And it's Jesi. And then I would really just appreciate it if you follow the organizations at Wheel With Me Foundation, at Wheel With Me Fitness. And then you can find us at Wheel With Me Adapt Fit in the Facebook group.
And I'll make sure to get those into the description right now too. So I'll drop the links in for everybody who else is watching now, and then the people that are watching this back in a little bit here.
Yes, thank you for being so open about everything and vulnerable, and just like easy to talk to. We appreciate you coming on, and hopefully it can motivate some of our watchers to get healthy. We've been talking about this a lot, but here's a lot of resources that you have, and I feel like the excuses are running out, and I feel like that's kind of what Jesi's all about, is like finding those excuses that you have and being like, but I got this solution right here. Oh, your next excuse, I got this solution right here. And you got another one, here's my foot, another solution over here, like it's just, and I love that I love that because I feel like a lot of people need it, and like that's even personal for me because I feel like I even need like an ass kicking, and like to take accountability for those things. So make sure that you guys invest in yourself and take this advice. If you keep on hearing this, it's a reason why, the universe is throwing you this. And like you hear so many people talking about how fitness and nutrition really does help their body, and like how it can help those things that you're complaining about, pain wise, getting more independent, being able to do your transfers more smoothly, or doing really cool stuff like Jesi does, and like doing those things that you're preparing your body for, so that it can also increase your headspace. Cause I feel like that's also what it does as well, right? It gives you that confidence and all that.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you guys so much for having me on. And to the viewers, I just asked, if you gain value from today, share this with a friend that can also gain value, disabled or not. I think that this conversation really pertains to anybody. And we really, that's how this grows. This is how Live to Roll grows, is if you share it. And we really need you guys to share the mission. And especially if you view in every week, share it with your friends so that they can continue to grow and see this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
we appreciate that for sure. And thank you, Jesi, again for coming on. We definitely appreciate you and talking about everything you got going on in life. And real quick before we end, I'm just going to shout out our sponsors real quick because that is how we're getting, trying to keep the channel going and growing. So thank you to Mobility Professionals. They are a DME specialist here in Southern California. So if you're local to Southern California, you're looking for a wheelchair, commode, standing frame, anything like that, they can help you out. They have great customer service. And then their sister company, Urology Professionals, is nationwide. So if you're looking for catheter supplies anywhere in the country, they ship all over the country. I know Roy from the chat just mentioned he switched over to them. He's in Arizona. One of our guys from Alaska, I know, switched over. So anywhere you are local, they take care of you. They have great, and if you need samples, anything like that, they'll always send them out. They're super friendly, great customer service. They have people in chairs and in the community that work for the companies. So they support us and they support a lot of stuff locally here. So thank them. Thank you guys for checking them out. And
before
then
we take a picture.
Yeah.
For a picture? Yeah. Ready? Thank you guys.
Of course. Yes. And then let's shout out our shows. Are you going to shout out our shows right now, Shawn?
Yeah, I will shout out the show. So next week, we'll be back with a regular Tuesday live on our Tuesday. 3:30 every Tuesday, we're live. Tom, Bobby, and I think this week we actually have a guest talking adaptive tech. And then Wednesdays, Tom's back on with gaming. So if anybody's into gaming and likes doing, some of the game stream stuff, hang out. He usually does some fun game streams Wednesday nights. And then next
also
Thursday,
just a really fun chat too. I like talking, like, even if you're not in gaming, like to go watch them and hang out or even make fun of them like me and Bobby do. It's a lot of fun. Feel free to join in.
That is the funnest part sometimes.
It is.
Whoops. And then Brianna will be back on Monday, or not Monday, the first week of the month, first Thursday, doing a women's show again. So Brianna's been busy with the couple here back-to-back weeks. And then we'll be back rolling over the hill with the old guys. So we got Robert,
with
Bobby,
the old
and
guys. Do you like that title, Bobby?
Oh yeah, I am. Look, my beard is completely white now.
You're owning it. You're owning it.
Oh,
okay.
I own it. I feel
when I tell people too about the aging with disability, I like to add in like that's not just for old people. Like
I know it's totally not.
It's for everything because we're all aging with a disability.
How to take care of it before you end up like what Robert has been going through with his shoulders and the pain that you might not see it now, but how is your body going to develop? If you are one of those smokers, what you're putting in your body, it is going to affect you by the time you get into your I know, Brianna. So when you get in your 50s like me, it takes its toll. So
it's good to hear it from people who have been through it, which is what we're talking about, we advocate for. So I really think that is a great show because it's just something that even somebody who's newly injured, 19 years old, you can still go check it out, because you're not going to hear it from nobody else than these guys that have this wisdom. And what I think it's cool about like joining each week is like you kind of really never know what advice they're going to give. Sometimes our title is one thing and we give advice about tons of other things, so like make sure to keep updated with them, check them out, put them on in the background, like that goes for all our shows, I think.
Yeah, it's all about the community. So just try to join, follow, watch what you can. Make sure to follow Jesi, Wheel With Me Fitness, everything, the app, the foundation. So thank you, Jesi, again for coming on. Thank you guys all for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Jesi, you don't have to hang up right away either. Just to
Okay.